Second thing is you said that, if Israel wasn't there, America would collapse. Did America not exist before 1948?
During a live Q&A session with a group of students, conservative commentator Candace Owens shares her views on key issues such as feminism, transgender rights, U.S. foreign policy, and the government's role in shaping societal values. Owens delivers her straightforward and bold perspective, encouraging critical discussion on these topics while emphasizing her conservative beliefs. Her commentary spans from an analysis of the current state of feminism to advocating for an America First foreign policy. This engaging and thought-provoking conversation is sure to captivate its audience.
First, I want to thank you for coming out. I really enjoyed listening to you speak. I am against your personal beliefs and whatever. And I wanted to ask, because you're, talking about how we shouldn't trust the government, we shouldn't trust all these people, and I'm curious because I noticed in your speech, when you're speaking, you commit a lot of logical fallacies. And I can give you some examples such as composition, division, ad hominems, and, many, many others. And I learned about these in my rhetoric class because my class, which was very, very Republican driven, wanted us to be good arguers, so that way we could...
Do you mind getting to the question? Because we have a lot of people that are waiting.
Yeah, of course, no problem.
Thank you.
I just want to say, why should we trust you? What's the point if you're going to commit all these fallacies? Why should we believe in you specifically?
Okay, well, if you think that anything that I have said today, just try to stick to the facts and don't focus too much on what you perceive to be logical fallacies. Just go look up Margaret Sanger, go look up Lyndon Baines Johnson, go look up the things that I'm telling you, and let me tell you that if you look that up and what you find out is that I completely lied today, then you shouldn't trust me. The reason why I'm standing up here is because I'm confident that I am sharing with people the truth. And the reason why I'm still up here, by the way, despite the fact that the entire media, an entire Democratic establishment, an entire BLM nation that was built overnight has been against me. The reason why my audience continues to grow is because when you are for truth and you are for God, who can be against you? You're gonna win.
During the session, Candace Owens responded to a female student who accused her of using flawed reasoning, pointing out that the student did not provide specific examples or evidence to support the claim. Owens defended her arguments as well-founded and noted the widespread support for her positions despite opposing viewpoints. She highlighted that making accusations without evidence weakens constructive debate and called for a higher standard of critical thinking and intellectual engagement in discussions.
I had an honest question for you because I feel like your grandfather's story is very inspiring, but you say that people complain so much. But if people didn't complain in those days and fight for people's rights and fight for feminism, which is just equality for women, then you wouldn't be on the stage today and I wouldn't be here asking you this question. And so if people aren't complaining, as you say, and fighting for rights, then nothing would happen. So how can you reconcile these differences?
Yeah, so first I want to say I understand your sentiment because when I was your age I thought the same thing, that feminism is just about equality. One of the brilliant things that the left does is they repackage words. It's clearly not feminism anymore. It's designed to actually rip apart women and men, to make women paranoid about men all the time, and every industry is controlled by a man, and to make being on your own, I want to do all by myself, as aspirational, right? It's about all my single ladies, who needs a man. So just because you're using the word feminism, it doesn't mean that it is feminism, right? And as best evidenced by the fact that they just keep using it when obviously we are on equal footing with men, and unless you can tell me what you're not allowed to do as a woman in society that men are allowed to do, right? That would be like a systemic problem that we would need to fix. And so also I want to just remind you that I said earlier that you don't know true history, and when you wake up to the evils of feminism, and I had just brought up the influx of immigrants that came from Russia after they shot the Tsar in 1881. These people were demonic. They were fixated on breaking up the family. Look up a woman named Emma Goldman. She's a true psychopath, and she's the one that inspired Margaret Sanger. They liked death, right? They were creating a cult of death and destruction everywhere, all across the world. And just to be clear, the earliest iteration of a feminist that you're talking about that you deem to be heroic would be Margaret Sanger. That's a first wave feminist, and she hated me. So please, I just don't, I think you should be very understanding and awake when you step to a person of color and say, these people did amazing things for you, because like I said, almost 80 million Black American children have been murdered because of that woman. So I feel nothing towards those feminists. And when I look around and I see women who are now crying on TikTok, and they don't understand, they did everything they were supposed to do, and I actually empathize and sympathize with them, and then suddenly they're in the world and they're making $25,000 a year and they can't do bad all by themselves, single ladies, and actually their bodies start coming online and their biology starts coming online and they actually want to get married and have children, and they're realizing that they've stepped into a design that they were promised was going to be, as you hear, it's just going to be great, it's all going to be amazing, and it actually isn't that amazing. I don't know why. What are we even fighting anymore? Men holding doors? That's the new feminist cause? Like, no. Equality means don't hold the door. No, I like when men pay for my meals. I love when my husband pays for my meals when we're recording. I like having the door held for me. In a perfect world, our society was so much better when women were involved every single day with their children before we handed them over to the Department of Education. And so I do not see feminism as having accomplished anything in our society. I actually think it was a nightmare that is being repackaged in our textbooks. So I would implore you to just do a little more research.
Candace Owens critiques the modern feminist movement, arguing that it has shifted from its original focus on equality to fostering division between genders. She contends that the movement encourages mistrust and prioritizes independence over traditional family values. Owens also examines the impact of past leaders like Margaret Sanger on underprivileged communities, suggesting that structural changes introduced by contemporary feminism might not serve all groups equitably, especially in areas facing systemic challenges.
If there were more liberals out here, I think that would be great. So you said that liberals these days just love talking about trans people, but I watch your show and others on the Daily Wire, and you seem to talk about trans people way more than your liberal counterparts. Do you really think that liberals are the ones who are obsessed with trans people?
So I don't think I said liberals, because like I said, it's just becomes like the new thing, and it's the entire media, and you could say it's left wing, but I like to not say liberals, because actually what I've realized is it's just a radical group of individuals. I have people in my family that are liberals. They don't want to support this nonsense. So I have tried to change my language over time on that. I talk about this issue on my show repeatedly because I can't think of anything more satanic, and what you're hearing come across is I'm a mom now, right? I'm a mom now. So the concept of me sending my child to a school, concept of that child intentionally via laws that were passed, a la California, of misgendering my child, the concept of via laws that were passed in states like California, the state then being allowed to take my child for my refusal to call them by something that they're not, especially with my understanding of medically what happens to children that are put onto hormones. I am particularly angry when it comes to any issue that involves children, right? So that's why I do a whole series on vaccines. It's why I talk about transgenderism on my show. The way that I have been radically transformed as a political speaker since becoming a mom, what you're noticing is the mama bear instinct, and I will fight to the death to protect my cubs.
Owens asserts that a small but vocal minority, rather than a broader consensus, drives much of the discourse surrounding transgender issues. She expresses concern over policies that involve state intervention in matters of children's gender identity, including medical decisions, and emphasizes the need for a more comprehensive evaluation of these policies' long-term implications. Owens highlights the value of parenting, expressing that it is a vital and fulfilling responsibility. She suggests that a societal shift undervaluing traditional family roles has contributed to a diminished appreciation of their importance.
Last week, and I'm wondering, what is your relationship with Vivek Ramaswamy? What are your thoughts on him, and do you believe he's the best option for Trump's VP after Nikki suspended her campaign today?
Nikki, I'm gonna miss her. Vivek Ramaswamy, like I said on the George Janko podcast, there are just some individuals that come along in life and just genetically something goes unbelievably right? He's moving at a pace, his mind is able to understand really complicated concepts at the speed of light, and his thirst for knowledge, it's got to be frustrating to be him. I think he just all day in and day out, just wants to know everything all the time, and to see that. Like I was so inspired by it. I really realized how much we have lowered the bar in America in terms of the brilliance that was, by the way, our founding fathers, the way they used to write. I mean, read the Federalist Papers, right? And then consider their ages. Well, when this was being written, go read, by the way, for fun. Civil War, never went to college, had no education, 18-year-olds who were writing letters to their mom. It sounds like poetry. It's unbelievable how intelligent people were just naturally. Vivek Ramaswamy, I hope and pray that we get him as a president in the future, right? Barring anything crazy that could happen. I trust my gut instincts on people, and he is amazing. As a vice president, I don't know, because the vice presidential role, I think, would be very complicated with a personality as big as Trump's and a mind as thirsty and hungry as Vivek. So I don't know if that works. I would love to see him in the cabinet. I'd love to just see him just destroy the Department of Education, like, you know, something along those lines where we could really put him to work, because sometimes the vice presidential role is just kind of like, you know what I'm saying. So I do want him in government. I'd like to see him as president, and right now I prefer him on the cabinet would be my answer. In the cabinet. Thank you.
Following Nikki Haley's suspension from the presidential race, Candace Owens commends Vivek Ramaswamy for his intellect and potential. She highlights his ability to address complex issues and his commitment to education, suggesting he could excel in a prominent role such as Secretary of Education. Owens contrasts Ramaswamy's intelligence with what she perceives as a decline in the quality of leadership, expressing hope that his involvement could raise the standard of public service and governance.
Ask you about Israel. There's two main reasons why I think America should be spending money and keep funding
Should or
Israel.
should not?
Should. The first is that Israel is on the forefront of technology, especially with the military, since they are constantly at war and they are constantly developing new technologies that America might need in the future with Russia or China or future wars that could happen. And the second is that they are a huge, in-between for America and the extreme Islamists that are working to undermine Western values. And the way I see it is that if Israel falls, God forbid, then America will be next. Instead of Iran funding Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis in Yemen, they will be attacking America directly. And that's why I think Israel should be supported by America. And I think that the idea that we shouldn't be engaging at all in foreign politics is a very isolationist concept that isn't rooted in the real world and how we need to operate as a country.
It's okay. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. So the first thing that I would say to you is, yes, you're right. Israel has a ton of technology. Who paid for it? Okay. Yeah. If I'm wondering if, like, we spent our money here, could we have the same technology? Right? Could we also have the thing that captures missiles? Right? The thing that we keep paying for? I mean, I just am asking the question, if we stop sending our money overseas to build up other nations, I would imagine that we could maybe fund our own technology here. Second thing is, you said that, you know, if Israel wasn't there, America would collapse. Did America not exist before 1948? That's the year that, yeah. No, I'm asking. I'm just saying, it's just stunning to me that people think that we're so weak, right? Or weak and that we just can't do it without other people. Like, we absolutely have to, you know, send our money here and protect this because otherwise America would fall. Okay, we had a country before Israel became a state, right? So I think that to me feels very faithless in America, very faithless in the story of America, very, very, counter to what our forefathers envisioned, right? I don't want to ever hear, no matter what state it is, I don't care what nation it is. I'm probably the most passionate, personally, obviously, when it comes to the UK. My husband's English. I would never say that we can't do it without England. And yes, we have fought and died alongside them. We were born of England, and I would never make a statement like that. To me, it's so radical to say that we can't exist without this other country. If that's the truth, then we aren't a country. We're not a country, we're a welfare state, right? And the last thing that I will say is you use this word isolationist to describe the idea that we should spend money in America first. And what I say to people that say that is, Well, we've been doing it your way for the last 40 years. We've been bombing Iraq for 30 years, okay? We have not stopped bombing the Middle East since 9/11, and actually before then, what am I saying? Since before 9/11, can we just try it? Can we take a deep breath and try it my way? And the people that want to just take a breather for a little bit to see if it works, because like I said, we haven't stopped, and all that I've seen in this time since we've decided that war was the way forward is the disintegration of America. Let me tell you something, if I was walking around the streets and people were not on drugs and zombied out, if the roads were paved, if the grass was green, if the children were singing at church, and you said, well, that's because we've been bombing the Middle East for decades, I'd say, okay, maybe you could get me there. America is disintegrating. Everything about America is disintegrating. I mean, from the education system to the streets to the inner cities, the wealth is going away. You're going to have to give me a better reason if you want me to get involved in things overseas. It does not make sense just from a common sense perspective, right? If your house is on fire and you look over and the neighbor's house is on fire, aren't you going to take care of your house first? Aren't you going to take out the fire in your own house before you go and say, let me help you? And if you said, my house can't exist unless the other house next door exists, then I would say move in together, because you don't have your own house. Obviously, that philosophy doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, I think I'm just exhausted with the world and the concept that we must engage in things overseas in order for us to have a healthy nation. I think it's actually the opposite. I'm ready to try selfishness for a little bit for this nation. So we'll see what.
Candace Owens questions the continued allocation of U.S. financial aid to Israel, proposing that these resources might be better directed toward improving domestic infrastructure, technology, and defense. She advocates for a more independent foreign policy, urging policymakers to prioritize resolving domestic challenges such as deteriorating infrastructure and educational shortcomings before funding international efforts. Owens calls for reassessing foreign engagements in the Middle East and focusing on strengthening the nation internally to achieve long-term stability and growth.